Hello everybody, my name is Fiona, and in this video we're going to talk about the astrological energies affecting us the week beginning 29th of December. Are you ready for some difficult discussions and maybe confusing and dreamy discussions? They may be challenging, but they will help us build for the future and think big and expansively to guide our ordinary everyday actions. All of that as we build up to a full moon in the sign of Cancer, sign of home and family and emotional safety. So let's talk about how you can navigate this energy this week, and let's get into it. And make the most of those energies as you go through the New Year holiday season. Okay, hello again. Welcome to this video. My name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendar. I make calendars, astrology calendars using lunar months for Australia and New Zealand. Sorry, not yet for the rest of the world, but maybe one day. But these astrological energies, these aspects and transits and the full moon and the new moon, they affect everyone around the world around about the same time. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. This is a video for the week ahead from 29th of December going through January the 1st and New Year's Eve and everything. And at the end of the week we do have a full moon, and that's the first lunation of the year. In this video I'm going to go through the aspects and transits one by one. As I said, there's lots of Mercury action giving us lots of discussion and communication things, matters, challenges perhaps. And in a video that comes out tomorrow, I will do an analysis of the full moon chart, that full moon in Cancer, and that will have an all signs breakdown for you. Okay, so let's get into it. So just before we look at every aspect and transit that's happening this week, we're going to look at the moon phase that we're in as we come into the week beginning 29th of December. We had a new moon on Friday the 19th or Saturday the 20th of December, depending on where you were in the world. That new moon in Sagittarius wasn't the easiest because it was square. The sun and the moon were together and they were square to Saturn and Neptune, and a square aspect brings challenges and blocks that need to be worked through. Saturn itself brings challenges and blocks that need to be worked through, and Neptune can bring confusion and vagueness and perhaps being over idealistic. And as we go into this week, as I'm going to talk about soon, Mercury will be coming into square with those. All right, so after the new moon, we are building up. The moon is waxing and getting bigger and bigger in the sky and getting further and further away from the sun until at the end of this week on Saturday the 3rd of January, very early in the morning in some places of the world. So basically you could think Friday the 2nd night, and then later in the evening on the 3rd of January for other places in the world, including Australia and New Zealand. I'm based in New Zealand. But this is for all the world. All of us will be enjoying the full moon, and that is in the sign of Cancer. And in tomorrow's video, I'm going to analyze that full moon. So the moon is waxing, getting bigger and bigger, and then it will be opposite from the sun in the sky at full moon. And now let's get into the aspects and transits one by one for this week, starting from, officially this video starts from the 29th of December, but I will also mention on Saturday 27th or Sunday 28th of December, we will have the first quarter moon, and that is when the sun and moon are square. The moon is kind of halfway across the sky as it's waxing and building towards that full moon. And then on Monday the 29th and Tuesday the 30th, we've got the first of those squares between Mercury and Saturn. And as I said before, a square aspect is a challenging aspect. There's something to work through. Mercury is about communication, discussion, ideas floating around and being exchanged between people. So this can also be through messaging. Mercury is also about our own rational thinking and self-talk. It's definitely a left brain planet. I don't know what side you're seeing this. This is my left for me. But yeah, it's not the dreamy, ethereal alpha brain waves. Right brain, Mercury is about the left brain. So it likes analysis and precision and logic. Okay. And Mercury is so much about everyday life. It also rules machines and computers and social media. It deals with all of these communications and networking methods around our lives. That is so much part of our lives. So Saturn, on the other hand, is it's more about physical reality and matter and physical things, and it can bring restrictions and boundaries and require us to think in very practical and realistic ways. And with Mercury square Saturn, I recommend that you try and think in practical, realistic ways when you're doing your planning, because Mercury involves planning, and when you're doing your discussion, try and be rational and not too emotional, okay? And logical, and even get into some analysis based on facts, grounded facts. And don't get too carried away in the details of the analysis. So, sometimes we can go down rabbit holes with that. Saturn requires us to be very realistic, pragmatic. Okay, the square means it could be challenging, but it means it's something that can be worked through. And when in my introduction I talked about building for the future, Saturn brings that energy. That's the wonderful thing about Saturn, is that we actually can make things into something real on Earth that can practically work in our lives. And Saturn loves hard work and planning for the future in realistic, steady, slow, but real, progressive steps. And Mercury and Saturn could work really well with this. So I advise you to be doing your planning, your thinking, and your discussions, thinking about the future and what you want to build for the future that can be realistic. So all the best for that one. And then the day after, or a couple of days after, so Thursday, New Year's Day, or Friday the 2nd of January, Mercury comes into square with Neptune. And Neptune is such a different energy than Saturn, but they're coming up to their conjunction in February. Neptune is ethereal, mystical, spiritual, dreamy, so imaginative and creative in fantastical, boundless ways. Saturn is about the boundaries. Neptune is about the freedom from the boundaries. No boundaries, no restrictions. So expansive. So with Mercury square to Neptune, we can be encouraged on this day to be thinking expansively and about spiritual matters, creatively, going really, really wide and imaginatively about your dreams. And any kind of dreams where you're even thinking about the world as a whole, because Neptune is about all that is. It brings in everything, the entire universe. Like, we are all one, we are all connected. And you might enjoy on this day having some discussions about spiritual matters, about how we're all connected, about how everything has meaning. Because it's a square aspect, 90 degrees to each other, it might not be an easy discussion. We might get too carried away with the mystical, too unrealistic, too over-idealistic. So be careful of that. The benefits of Mercury and Neptune together, and the way that you can use it, is to be thinking expansively and imaginatively about how you would love things to be for the world, how you would love things to be for people who need help and charity, and how you would love what kind of dreams you have. Wonderful dreams for overall connection and unconditional love in the world. Just don't get too carried away and unrealistic with it. Okay, so that's how you can use that energy. And then on that very same day, just after that square with Neptune, Mercury moves into the sign of Capricorn. And over the next month or 3 weeks, until 21st of January, Mercury will be in a serious mode. So our discussion, our planning, our thinking is going to be more naturally practical, realistic, thinking about the future, structured, organized, and pragmatic. So that's going to be cool. And then, oh, I forgot about this. Chiron stations direct on Friday the 2nd or Saturday the 3rd of January. This is the wounded healer. We've been internally considering, and probably in a really subconscious level, our inner wounds, our child wounds, our work, doing some inner child work, but we might not have realized we were doing it because while Chiron's been retrograde, it's been an internal and probably a subconscious process. As Chiron turns direct, we might realize more clearly what's going on for us, and as we go forward with Chiron direct, be able to take the next steps on our healing journey. I've done a whole video about this, and I will link that in the description. It's got an all signs breakdown about where Chiron is in Aries and what part of your chart that is, so what area of life it's affecting. So you can go to that to learn about how to work with Chiron as it turns direct. And then we've got on Saturday the 3rd of January the full moon in the sign of Cancer, home and family and emotional safety, sensitivities, intuition, and nurturing and comforts in a lot of ways. And there'll be a video coming out tomorrow with an analysis of that full moon chart and an all signs breakdown. So there we go, everybody. That is a roundup of the aspects and transits that are happening this week. Remember, there'll be another video coming out tomorrow about the full moon and looking at that full moon chart and what kind of energy we're going to have with that full moon and the 2 weeks or even 6 months that follow. And that will have an all signs breakdown. So just to say again, if you are from Australia or New Zealand, you can order an Aotearoa or an Australia sun and moon calendar, and all the best for the coming week from me, and hopefully you'll see me tomorrow in the video about the full moon. So bye for now, and enjoy those discussions and that rational thinking and building for the future with that.